All right, Funky Town Baseball. We're going to go through our keepers. Everyone's submitted. We're locked in. We've all picked our best $100 worth of guys, and now the season's about to start. We're drafting on Sunday, don't forget. But I thought we'd keep this one pretty quick and just go through team by team, look at the keepers that we all have, and then ultimately look at the draft class that we're coming up on for the draft. So starting with me, Kyle Tucker, Jackson Chourio, and Rafael Devers is a good way to start, it seems to me. Reagan's in Crochet, and Strider is a nice 1, 2, 3, assuming that Strider comes back and is kind of what he used to be. Cruz and Lewis, yeah, like those guys. Steele, Alcantara, Williams is another nice little trio of pitchers, in my opinion. Yuri Perez, I'm very excited for when he comes back. And then my three farm guys were Heston Kierstad, Cade Cavalli, and Kevin Alcantara. So you'll notice a trend is that you'll see a lot more deep green as we inch our way towards the good teams from last year. But I think I was relatively happy with how I was able to recover. Not really buying in big at the beginning. Corey is up next, and he's got a lot of money spent on Acuna, Riley, and DeGrom. That's half his budget, $51 between those three. So obviously Acuna and DeGrom have some pretty big injury question marks. Austin Riley is not good value at $22, but he'll be able to trade him. If he isn't competitive this year, he's probably going to be one of the first guys to go of any team, and he'll fetch a nice price, probably more than he would have gotten for trying to keep Andres Jimenez and Eugenio Suarez or something like that. So I think it was a good move to pick up Riley, even though it was shocking to keep a $22 player, of course. Really nice contracts of Brent Rooker and Jordan Westburg on offense. Those are probably not going anywhere for many years. And Yainer Diaz is a really nice catcher. Max Fried, he picked up trading Bo for Freddie Peralta, which I liked for both, I think, because Bo cut some cost, but Corey probably looking at more of a long-term play. Max Fried's the better arm, I think most people would say. Brian Wu, who I personally love. Kenzie Gore, I hope he can figure it all out. Matt Shaw and Carson Williams are two elite prospects, and then you got to squeeze in Ryan O'Hearn at the last second. So we'll see what happens here. I think that's. I just don't even know what Corey wants to do yet. If he wants to try to sell and go for next year, if he wants to try to compete immediately, so hard to even grade. How good is this group? But I'm glad that he was able to get in here and make some really quick moves and be decisive. I'm excited to have him in the league. Maffey is the only team that I need to scroll down for because he has so many keepers. And you'll see that the highest ADP is 89. So it's a shotgun approach if you've ever seen one. The thing is, they're all really young. Here's the age column, right? Not a single one of these. How many keepers is this? Not a single one of these 19 keepers are older than 28, and most of them are 25 or younger. So if you have 5 or 6 or 7 of these guys that hit, this could be really good. It wasn't last year, and so I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. Maffey, I think this is a really interesting tact, and you have some picks now to play with. A couple firsts, a couple high picks just in several rounds. Selling the Shohei and whoever else you had in that deal, Jazz, giving Nate the trophy. So we'll see if if this is able to work when you supplement it with a few high-end picks. I'm not sure, frankly, if it will or won't. It's a never been tried before until last year, and we'll see. Jeremiah would definitely went top heavy, so he got Carroll I think for a third, Skeens, Harper, and Profar for I think like a second, third, and fourth. Freeman for a second. So I mean, draft capital was amassed by selling last year. He liquidated a lot of it to go after some huge names. But when you look at the ADPs, I mean, 4 top 40 ADP bats is pretty dang good. The pitching is definitely going to be more of the question to me. And he has Paul Skeens, and that's a great place to start. Shane McClanahan, I'm not really sure whether he's just going to be back or his workload might be restricted. I don't know. They're pitching outdoors in the Tampa humidity now at a field that's the same size as the Yankees stadium, so I'm not sure about him. Anyways, a lot of potential, a lot of bats. He's going to clearly want to draft some pitchers. Keeping Samuel Basayo and Edwin Arroyo as farm guys, I believe. He didn't actually verify with me on this one, so let me know. Termar Johnson used to be high-end prospect. He's slipped a little bit. And I skipped over Bryce Terang, Ezekiel Tovar, and Willier Abreu, who are fine, seems like to me. So he has a couple firsts left, but he's going to need those big-time guys to produce for sure because the draft capital is reduced enough that it's not like he has too much of it left after making all these big moves. I'm just going to go straight into Brad. William Contreras is awesome. Corey Seager, Josh Naylor, Brenton Doyle, Luis Robert, Salvador Perez. So he kind of doesn't quite have the absolute top end that a couple of these other teams have. In fact, that might be except for Maffey, that might be the lowest top ADP of a keeper group. But can't deny Contreras, Seager, Naylor, Robert, and Perez are all good bats. He has a lot of potential coming up with Jackson Holiday. He loves Isaac Paredes, does Mr. Brad. He thinks he's going to hit 35 homers this year, he told me. So we will see. He's got Colson Montgomery, who he's refused to trade me for multiple years, despite the fact that he's probably going to lose the starting shortstop job to Chase Medroff. So you had your chance 2 years in a row, Brad. Cutter Crawford, Brandon Pfaadt, and Tyler Glasnow is the whole rotation. So I would assume Brad is going to spend one or two of his first round picks on a pitcher potentially as well, because that's a little scary. So yeah, we'll see. I like how I gave myself by far the best review of anybody because I was personally more excited about my guys than a lot of other people's, even though I'm not like the best keeper group or anything. Try to be unbiased, but what are you gonna do? And I like my keeper group. Gunnar Henderson came over to the KC playoff or busts this year for a second in the offseason from French, which he was really expensive, but I kind of like it. It ended up being that probably was about as top of the market price individually for a player that anyone probably paid this offseason, but Gunnar is a top 7 player, 6 ADP, so can't say I really blame him. Ozzy, Suzuki, Steer, Chapman, Castellanos, Cowser, Keith. That's the makings of a pretty solid offense for sure, with Clase as the best closer in the game by a mile, and then Bryce Miller and Brandon Woodruff being the only pitchers. I'd say pitching certainly will be the look, or the strategy here is definitely grab a pitcher. And this is like the third or fourth team I've already said that about, and so it does feel like we might see some pretty inflated prices on pitchers in this draft. I'm just going to guess because there aren't that many available, to be honest. Most of the really good ones are kept. Didn't touch on Roman Anthony, #1 prospect in baseball. River Ryan, who just had Tommy John after looking pretty good in his brief debut for LA. And Colt Emerson, top 20-ish prospect that's still probably a couple years away, but very exciting. So it's perfect for the farm. Let's move on to French, who had the biggest transformation I've ever seen, probably. He's kept Aaron Judge, and he kept Zach Wheeler as well, but if it feels like that's about it, well, okay, he kept Matt Olson. So the bats are Judge, Olson, Wood, and Spencer Jones. Poor French lost his main man, Giancarlo Stanton, so he settled for Giancarlo Stanton light with Spencer Jones, hoping that he becomes the next big thing. James Wood is being drafted like he's already the next big thing, so we'll see. He certainly has all the tools. And then crushing news for French is that George Kirby, well, maybe not crushing, but George Kirby's going to be held out for a while. It's indeterminate, or it's to be determined how long he'll miss. But when you pair Kirby with Wheeler, Snell, Nola, Jared Jones, Taj Bradley, Dustin May, and Max Scherzer, no wonder anyone else can't get any pitchers because that's a nice high-quality group with lots of upside. Very expensive as well. You're talking $38 for Wheeler, Snell, and Nola. This is a different type of French team. Doesn't have picks, frankly. What does he have? These are not up to date, but a 2, 6, 9, 9. I'm not sure if he still has all of those, to be honest. I need to update that, but there isn't a lot of reinforcements coming to this group, so the pitching looks like it can hold up just like it is. And the bats, French is going to have to get a little bit creative for sure. Bo also has a lot of keepers. Vlad Jr., who he got just for a steal last year before he really kind of blew up, it felt like. Jaron Duran was just a magnificent draft pick last year. Brian Reynolds, he picked up this offseason as part of a deal for Reynolds, Ryan, and Freed. But Freed is now gone. Anyway, he paid, I think, what was it, like a third, fourth, and sixth or something for Reynolds, Ryan, and Freed. It felt like a really good deal for Bo at the time. Like Nate didn't get too much back for three dudes that I think are all really good. He did acquire Freddie Peralta for Max Fried straight up to free up a little extra money. I think basically that ended up meaning he kept Griffin Jax. So Jax plus Peralta or Fried. I probably still go Fried, but I understand the logic. Ryan Helsley, Mason Miller, and Ben Joyce. But there's also someone where's the other closer? I thought there was another closer. I guess I'm losing it. Well, whatever the case, he's got a couple really nice relievers. He's got Max Clark, and Walker Jenkins. Goodness, who are great prospects. Did not end up keeping Taylor Ward. That was kind of my fault. I did not realize that it was just a mistake. Frank submitted the offer, but it was a mistake. The actual draft pick that was included in the counter offer was the same as what Bo offered, but he meant to say a 20th, and then they couldn't come to a deal. So my bad for not seeing that message, which Frank told me about immediately. I just totally missed it. A couple more teams here. Alex has a lot of green. Ellie Mookie, Logan Gilbert, who just totally broke out last year. Dylan Cease, who always still makes me a little bit nervous. Ozuna was amazing. Adames was amazing. Semien was actually kind of just fine. Shota was amazing. Lot of talent on Alex's team. I'm pretty high on Alex's squad this year. Nice subtle pickups for Carlos Rodon. Got Adael Amador basically for free. I like this team quite a bit, not even mentioning Seth Lugo and Christopher Sanchez, who's like everyone's favorite. Oh my God, this guy's looking amazing in the spring pitcher. And Seth Lugo was really, really fantastic last year, and he's adding in a cutter, I think it is this year or something. Looks interesting too. McAble, one of the top pitching prospects in the game, should be up this year if he's healthy. This is a really good core, and there are some draft picks still behind it, despite having gone for it last year. Again, these are not quite up to date, so don't put these as gospel, but 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, and 6. This team is going to be stacked for sure. My favorite keeper group, because it's so fun and interesting to me, is JW, who's going 100% offense by the look of it. We've got Lindor, Yordan Alvarez, Trey Turner, Jose Altuve, Mike Trout, Christian Yelich, Alex Bregman, with Kobe Mayo as a keeper from the farm. And his only pitcher that is in the major leagues is a closer, Edwin Diaz, one of the best, of course. So there's literally not a starting pitcher in this keeper group. And the picks, he did acquire some top-end picks, but there's only a couple picks in the top 10 rounds. So this is going to be the ultimate shotgun pitching team. I'm so excited to see if it's viable, because that offense ought to be fantastic. Obviously, when you just look at this, he only needs 4 more bats to fill up his line. Or what is that? 1, 2, 3. I guess there's only 7, so he needs technically 6 more bats. Mayo may come up. He may only need 5 more bats. So will he use those top end picks for more bats and just become the supreme batting team of the league and just see what the hell happens with pitching, or will he go for some pitching, try to catch up? It's going to be really fun. There's Frank, who has, starting at the top, 3 straight $16 players. So $48 for Jose Ramirez, Juan Soto, and Fernando Tatis. Obviously, I think most of us would probably take that $48 for those 3 dudes. The pitching ended up getting way more light, because Garrett Cole just went out. Probably going to get Tommy John, which means Frank's only starters are Michael King, Jack Flaherty, and Walker Buehler. All 3 on pretty good contracts, but Michael King is kind of far and away the best of that bunch. Jack Flaherty, I mean, I just don't believe he's a 3 ERA pitcher or whatever he was last year, but we'll see. He signed in Detroit. That's good. And Walker Buehler, you just really don't know what you're going to get yet, but he's on a 1-year deal with a team that's going to have no reason not to use the crap out of him. So I like all three of those guys. He got Yandy Diaz from me as a throw-in. And in the Devers deal, he's keeping Matt McLain. That was kind of his last-second pivot, which meant he could not keep Jonathan India or Taylor Ward, so they're both back. And he's hoping for big things from Junior Caminero. And don't forget Devin Williams, who's probably going to get 45 saves this year. We're pitching for New York. Last but not least, pretty much just a solid string of dark green. Nate has Ohtani, Witt, Skubal, Marte, Machado, Alonso, Lopez, Yamamoto, Hunter Green, all of which who are top 80 ADP. And then Shane Baz is just kind of a throw-in to make it fit with the money. And certainly Shane Baz has some upside, and that's a fantastic deal. So this keeper group, very impressive. And now what I think should be by far the most exciting part of the video, saved for last, is the draft class. So I think it's best to look at this in the context of every 12 picks, because that represents a round nowadays. We have no picks being occupied by keepers. It's all just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then on to the next round. So first and foremost, at the top, Julio, I'm going to pick unless someone wants to blow me away with an offer and for me to move down. Kyle Schwarber, Jazz Chisholm, kind of the big three on offense now that Riley was kept. Corbin Burns, Chris Sale, and Garrett Cole settle in, pitcher, pitcher, pitcher. Obviously, if Garrett Cole gets Tommy John, that ADP is going to sink like a stone. And I'm really curious to see when do Corbin Burns and Chris Sale go, because Chris Sale was certainly better last year by a lot, but he's also Chris Sale. He's 35. He's gonna get hurt, right? He didn't last year, but can he possibly do it two in a row? Corbin Burns just a little bit underwhelming for your like a top 5 pick in the draft and the clear best pitcher on your team. If you draft him, he should be. I don't know. Super curious to see if Wyatt Langford actually gets picked in the top 7 picks. We're all Rangers fans. A lot of us are Rangers fans. Probably will. But that makes me a little nervous. Framber is an interesting pitcher. He's kind of flawed in some ways, but he's really good at what he's good at. Teoscar, Michael Harris, and Santander, 3 great outfielders. One plays left, one plays center, one plays right. That may have a lot to do with which one goes first, who needs what position, you know. Adley Rutschman, clearly the best catcher available, if not the best catcher in the game. Well, William Contreras is the best catcher in the game, hitting-wise, but Adley Rutschman's probably number 2. Tons of ups. So let's scroll down now. That was kind of round 1. I won't do every round or whatever, but starting with round 2, C.J. Abrams has all kinds of upside. Was super good to start last year, but then by the end of the year they were demoting him because he went out to a casino on a game day or something, and I don't know. He's got tools. Big bats and Christian Walker and Cal Raleigh, Lawrence Butler, Ian Happ. But then here's where we start to see a lot of pitchers where a lot of teams. My question is, who flexes one of these guys into their first-round pick? Bailey Ober, Logan Webb, Luis Castillo, Zach Gallen, Spencer Schwellenbach, Hunter Brown, all available in the second round by ADP up to pick 24. Mark Vientos is sprinkled in here too. Monster rookie year, is back at third base now that Pete Alonso was signed. Will someone take a leap on him to try to see if he can become like a first-round type of hitter? First closer here, Josh Hader. This is round 3. Vinny P, who I regrettably could not keep. Will Smith, Randy Rosarena, Cody Bellinger, Brandon Nimmo, who Bo couldn't find a home for. Roki Sasaki, right? Does someone jump on him early? Wilson Contreras, super valuable as a catcher. Dolis, Stephen Kwan, Senga, Dylan Cruz. So anyway, lots of talent available at the top, and I think it's going to be a fun draft. And the talent goes pretty deep, but now my baby's starting to cry, so I'm probably going to cut it short. This is way longer than I intended anyways. Take a look at the board, the list of players. It goes pretty deep. I mean, there's some good players available around 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, at least guys I'm excited about, so pretty excited about this. It's going to be long, but I'll see you guys on Sunday.